Today we're going to be talking about the substitution method. With the substitution method, we're going to be trying to solve these systems of equations algebraically instead of doing all that graphing. So with the substitution method, this is a method of solving systems of equations by substituting equations within one another. Okay, so what you're doing is you're taking your systems and we're going to just basically plug one equation into the other. So there are some steps to help you solve this. Step 1 is to solve one equation for x or y. Doesn't matter which one you pick. Sometimes it'll be easier to solve for one variable or the other. Step 2 is to substitute this expression into the other equation and solve for the variable. And then step 3 is to substitute your answer into the revised equation from step 1 and solve for the other variable. So that may sound a little confusing right now. So let's try an example to show you what I mean. So our first example is to solve this system of equations by substitution. Every system is going to have these big braces. On your paper, they don't look so crooked. I'm not sure why they do on here. But you're going to go ahead and solve these by substituting in. So the easiest thing is to just substitute for y. I have y equals this and y equals this. So I can plug one of these equations in for the other y. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this first one in to the second one. So this now becomes 4x minus 1 equals 2x minus 5. So all I did was I plugged this equation in for y, and now I can go ahead and solve for x. Okay, and this is something that you should already know how to do. I'm going to add my 1 to both sides and subtract my 2x. And I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Divide by 2. And x will get me negative 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and plug it into my equation here. Okay, the one that I substituted in. So I have y equals 2x minus 5. I'm going to take negative 2 and plug it in for x. Okay, and then 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9. So my solution to this system of equations is negative 2, comma, negative 9. Same idea for number 2. We're going to go ahead and plug in. This time, I have y equals 6x, and then I have 2x plus 3y equals negative 20. So the easiest option here is to plug my y equals 6x in for y in the second equation. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this and plug it in right here. So I'm going to have, let's do 2x plus 3 times 6x equals negative 20. Then I can go ahead and solve, distribute my 3 to my 6x. Add together my x terms because that's the next step. Combine my like terms. And then I can go ahead and divide by 20 on both sides. So my x value is going to be negative 1. And then for this, I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug it back in to this first one. Okay, so I'm plugging it in to the revised equation from step 1. Step 1 was to solve for x or y. Since this one is already solved for y, that's why I'm picking this one. Okay, so y equals 6 times -1. That is -6. So my ordered pair is -1, comma, -6. Okay, so same idea for number 3. We already have a y here, so I can plug this in for x, plug this in for y into our other equation, 3x plus 8. And then I'm plugging in, this is just being plugged in here, so x plus 9 equals -5. This first step is to distribute. Now I can combine my like terms. Now I can get the x term by itself, so I'm going to subtract that 72. Now I'm going to divide by 11 to get -7. So now I'm going to plug this into the one that's already solved for y. So y equals x plus 9. Okay, so y equals, I'm going to plug in my -7. And -7 plus 9 equals 2. So my ordered pair is -7, comma 2. All right, and then this last one, same idea, but this time you have an x, so you're going to plug that in for x. So go ahead and try this on your own and see if it matches what I get. You should have 3, -1 as your answer. On to the back. We're just going to keep solving these types of problems. This time, though, they didn't already have it solved for a variable. So you can pick which one you want to solve. I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to use the first equation. Okay, and since y is already by itself here, I'm going to solve this one for y. So that means I subtract 2x from both sides, and I get y equals -2x minus 2. So I'm going to use this equation to substitute in for y. And that's the same process as before. So I'm going to show you this one, and then you're going to try the rest and then compare them with my answers. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take this and plug it in for y. Right, and then distribute. Remember, we can add a negative, or we can just do straight up subtraction. They mean the same thing. 5x minus 6x. So you get me a -x. Add 6 to both sides. But I need a positive x, so divide by -1 to get x equals 2. Then I'm going to take my x equals 2, plug it in to my newly solved equation. Okay, the one where it's already y equals. And then -2 times 2 minus 2. And then my equation should be, or my, ordered pair, 2, -6. Right, so you're going to try number 6 and then compare what you get with what my answer is. Try 7. All right, so if you got to this point, you may be a little confused as to what your answer is, or you may remember from in the past what your answer would be for this problem. Now, 12 does not equal -1, obviously. Okay, we know that, does not equal that. So since these two numbers are not the same, that means that there are no solutions. These would be parallel lines. Okay, so that means that if you get the same number on both sides with no x or no y value left, that means that they are infinite solutions. Just a heads up. Try 8. 8, -2. Try 9. For number 9, you should have infinite solutions. Remember when I said if it's the same number on both sides, that means you're going to have infinite solutions. These would be the same line. Try 10. For number 10, you should have had negative 2, comma 0. Try the last one. Your answer for number 11 should be negative 1, comma 5.